Hello, everyone, and welcome to January 7th, 2025 regular legislative committee meeting of the town of Vegreville. I call this meeting to order at 3 o'clock. I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up, I'll need a motion to adopt the minutes of our last regular ledge meeting. Thank you very much, Councillor Bullock. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, first up, we have introduction of new staff. You go ahead, Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I have here today my new finance manager, McKinley Makawecki. Yesterday was her first day, so we'll welcome her to the town of Vegreville. She's not new to us. She was our summer student for, I believe, 2 summers in the administration office. So she's fitting right back in.
Excellent. Well, welcome, McKinley. Nice to see you again. And where have you been? I haven't seen you around town for a couple of years. Where have you been?
I'm back. I was in Edmonton. I was working in public accounting. After my second summer at the town of Vegreville, I went back and got my master's of accounting. I went back and got my CPA, and now I'm back in Vegreville, and I'm excited to be here.
We're very excited to have you, and it'd be nice to see somebody in that financial manager's position and take a little stress out of Director Saskew's life. And we hope everything goes good for you. If you have any complaints, you take them right to the Director Saskew, okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Nice. And how's things with your mom and dad? Everything's good at the farm?
Great.
Nice.
Yes.
Any other questions? Well, good luck, and we look forward to seeing you around the office. Not that we all get in there that much, but occasionally we do. Okay. Next up, quarterly reports. Public Works Manager, Dan Quigg. Oh, we're switching. See you, McKinley.
See you. Have fun.
Yeah.
Afternoon. I'll just jump right into the budgeted items, and I have some stuff afterwards to run through of where we're at, just operationally wise. So first off was a budget item of CRF sand seal. That's where we put the sand seal on the roads. It extends the life by 5 to 10 years, and that was budgeted for $70,000. We are in the progress of evaluating roads when we can, when they're bare, and then we will select which ones we think are good candidates.
So how far does $70,000 go, Dan, like in measurement?
6 to 7 blocks, I think we got last year.
Okay.
Yep. Next up is refurbishing manholes. That extends the lifespan of a manhole by 50 years. We were budgeted for $40,000. That will do about 4 manholes. And we are in the process of selecting. We have quite the list of those to run through and then just figure out which ones are the worst ones to do sooner than later. Then after that, we have to replace 2 manholes. We have a list of those 2. We're selecting ones that are the worst to replace for $60,000. And we identified those, and then we will put those out to local contractors to see who is a better option for us.
Just for a second here, Dan. So you say you're picking 2 of the worst on your list. How many of these full replacements do you think that we need right now in town?
We probably have 10 for sure. So then we just go and select the ones that are going to be, that are causing potential blockages for us. Mm-hmm. And then we'll select the worst ones to do this year. And some of them are related to the sewer lining program as well, so that if the particular manhole we pick is in that area that we're gonna reline, then we kind of try and do it all at the same time.
Any questions regarding the manholes right now? Okay,
And then that goes to the sewer lining. With that sewer lining we did last year, that extends the lifespan of sewer lines by 50 years. We have $100,000 for that one, and that'll do about 400 meters, so roughly 2 blocks per year. And then same thing, we are televising those lines to find the ones that have the most cracks and potential for backups to replace. And then there is the sewer main calcification removal. That extends the lifespan of sewer mains by 50 years as well. We have $50,000 for that. And we can do approximately 300 meters of heavily built up calcite with that, and more if it's not so heavy in there. So we kind of, televise all these lines, find out how much calcification there is, try and do this calcification removal before we sewer line, so that the costs for sewer lining isn't so much, because if there's lots of calcification on the lines, when we go to line them, they charge us a little bit more to clean them. So if we can get it done before and just get it all looked after.
okay, and I know during budget, we talked about what the price of this equipment would be to have something like this of our own. Did we ever find anything like that out, Dale, or?
To do this calcification removal, it is very pricey to get, for us to get into it. The truck that this company has is $1 million.
Okay,
So
yeah, I can see the problem. Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
I'm just wondering, a lot of these projects obviously will feed into each other once you go down. You'll find more things that need to be done. Do we have a method of keeping track of this? A lot of the problems arise potentially if there is an issue, or ones that you're already aware of, but do we have a method for keeping track?
we have started documenting as we televise, because we just televise so we can know where to go for some of these programs. And then we keep a list so we can plan this all out for year to year.
Go ahead, Director Lefebvre.
Borrow this for a second. Yeah, in 2024, we were awarded our grant application for our infrastructure management plan that we're working with MPE on. So that's a grant of about $180,000, and that's going to finish our GIS system, our ability to take the mouse in your computer at his shop, any place, over the manhole, click, it was respun this date, it had this problem this date. That information is going to be available to us by the end of 2025. So all the paper documentation that we've been keeping track of at Public Works will roll into this program as well. And that does properties, that does tax assessments. It's going to be really good. We have so much of the information already completed. It's just a matter of putting together a program everybody can use. So that grant application was awarded, and we're happy we got it. Now we can do exactly that, because there's nothing like tracking data for sure.
Any other questions on this decalcification? Okay.
So operationally, snow removal began on November 24th. We have completed the town once and are on the second pass right now, and about 3/4 done the town for the second time, so.
Okay, Councilor Bullock.
Want to make a comment on snow removal. I received a citizen called me about it, saying what a good job Public Works is doing with snow removal. So too often we hear stuff that isn't great, but this person moved here from another community and had very high regards to what we do around town, as in with snow removal and other things. And they said our crime, we have nothing to worry about from where they come from. So just so everybody knows that we're lucky to be where we're at and what we have doing. My son's snow still hasn't been done in Edmonton yet this year.
Yeah.
So I know that our main blower went down and we brought out the old one.
Yep.
And where are we at with the repair on the new one?
The new one that is just, the part is back and ready to be installed, and then we'll have to give it a good trial to make sure it's all good, and then it should be back in service.
It was nice to have that spare.
Yeah.
It's been a few weeks that's been running.
Yeah, this will be the third week, I think.
Any more questions on the snow removal?
And then just a little, oh, sorry.
It's been a fairly light year for snow, so at this point, going to passes by the end, or I guess, beginning of January. Is that pretty on par? We've been light on snow, so,
Yeah,
okay,
Well, I think that people don't realize we don't have a line item for snow removal.
no.
And it is what it is there's nothing we can do, but some years work out better than others, and so,
yeah, last year we didn't start until January 5th or something like that.
okay, carry on, Dan.
And then I just had a little update on the shop, the Full Throttle shop moved to the landfill. We have the gas has been trenched into the shop, power has been hooked up, heaters are being installed, they're actually out there today. The doors have been fixed and the man door is reinstalled, and once the heat is on, we will let the gravel inside unthaw and then prep for pouring the concrete floor.
So that should take some stress out of some of the other heated buildings. We'll be able to park the garbage trucks and
Yeah.
other equipment in there.
Inside, yeah.
So do you have a plan how that's gonna work? The employees will go directly to that shop that are in trucks that day and just,
We have a morning meeting every morning, so they'll probably have our meeting and then they'll take a crew cab truck, the trucks are out there, and pick those trucks up and go from there.
but it does open up some space for us, though.
Yes.
Good. And our contractors lined up, like when we're ready for the floor, it shouldn't be a problem for them to get right on it.
No, they've been actually calling and asking where we're at for getting the heat on, so over the Christmas break there, the sporadic work days, that was the only holdup there is, you know, it's 1 week, they're only working 1 day and then 2 the next, so hopefully now we can get into just moving forward.
Okay. Is our plan to have any cameras, any eyes in that facility?
There's cameras at the landfill now, and I think it's up for a regrade, so when it is, we can see if we can expand it so it picks up that building as well, because there's 4 cameras at the landfill right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know that hopefully people aren't gonna be stealing garbage trucks, but you just never know.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to have some eyes out there to be able to see what's going on,
Yep.
and again, there'll probably be times when employees will be on their own out there and stuff too, so. Okay, any other questions for Dan?
So on our last thing we had a couple sewer service blockages, I guess. One was on November 26th. It was right at the main. We have some pictures of this first one that Jameson has. So this was right at the main. That was 115 feet out from the house. So we had the same company come in that does our robotics work. They said they would buy this tool for us. They wanted to get into this side of the laterals to cleaning them. So we had them come in. It's kind of like a rigid chain flail it is. So you run the chain flail in with the camera behind it so you can see what you're doing. So rather than cleaning the whole thing, they can see the spots where they want to do and then turn it on and it'll only clean that spot rather than going down the whole 115 feet, beating up the service. This is more directed right at the blockage. So this is the before picture. And then there's
That's calcite?
That's calcite buildup there. So it had shrunk it down from 4 to 2 inch. And then that's the after. They didn't break that piece out, it was just covered with the calcite.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
And the cost?
the cost for that was $3,100. So in comparison to
Digging it up.
digging it, you know, you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000. And then we also had another one on 47th Street, one of the trailers. That's the before. So it was kind of the same thing, maybe with a piece of pipe blocking it. So they went in, same thing, pushed that down into the main because it was just a loose piece, and then cleaned it up. And then there's your after. It's kind of not as easy to see, but opened it right up, and
The machine's pretty great.
that's $2,500 for that one.
And this was on the owner's property? Or was that our site?
Our side.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, that's very economical and, again, not a lot of digging and stuff, so.
Yeah.
And this little piece of equipment that they have there, it's fairly costly too?
This one is not as costly. It's roughly between 8,000 and 10,000, so it is something that we could possibly budget for.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thanks for the update, and, hopefully we don't see a lot more snow and too much more cold weather and,
Rain.
yeah, rain. Much easier to blow rain.
Same day.
Yeah.
I got a question for you though, Dan. Are you guys, getting any complaints or a lot more complaints than normal about because we had the snow and then we had the thaw and then the ice underneath, and, I mean, I know a lot of people don't understand that we can't get the ice off the pavement without wrecking the pavement.
Not direct complaints, I don't think, but, on Facebook and whatnot, yes, I think why can't we get down to asphalt, and why are we not sanding more, and complaints like that, but nothing directly. Few compliments and stuff, you know.
Yeah, people just don't understand, to get that ice separated from the pavement when it gets super cold and it's been there, we wreck the pavement. Yeah, so, I mean, I just want everybody to understand that
Yeah,
it's not pretty, but it's a lot better than wrecking the top of the road, yeah, so. Okay, there's no other questions. Thank you so much for the update, and hopefully the rest of the year goes fairly good for you guys with equipment.
thank you.
Next up, we have Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I have here a document regarding the Minburn Lodge Foundation. So the topic is Minburn Lodge expansion. So the background is the Homestead Lodge expansion project is preparing to make their submission to the Affordable Housing Partnership Program, it's the AHPP. At a stakeholder meeting on December 10th, 2024, it was a consensus that submission scenario B would be chosen. This results in a total municipal contribution of $3.2 million for the project amongst all members. Using the 2025 Equalized Assessment Report dated November 1st, 2024, one-time capital contributions would be as follows. So you can see the town of Vegreville would have a municipal requisition of $1.2 million and change. The request from the Minburn Foundation is that the council complete and submit the municipal commitment letter and motion, as the AHPP submission deadline is January 31st, 2025. So those are on the following two attachments. The attached draft motion refers to the following: a capital contribution of $1,204,748 to be debentured in 2025 by the town of Vegreville, and an increased annual requisition of approximately $100,000 overall to fund debt payments. Once submitted, the project would move to the following phases. So phase 2, construction tender, which would occur from September to October of 2025. Phase 3, construction, which would be November 2025 till August 27, so about 2 years, and then move in October of 2027. So financial implications of the town of Vegreville of the Homestead Lodge expansion project are as follows: a one-time capital contribution of $1,204,748, representing the town's portion of the total funding commitment of $3.2 million, which would then be debentured in 2025. This will result in total principal and interest debt payments of approximately $100,000 annually for the town that we would have to add to our annual budget. And then an annual loan repayment of approximately $100,000 additional over existing requisition payments of $500,000. So that is totaling $650,000 for a period of 20 years. This would equate to an additional $37,600 to be requisitioned by the town of Vegreville annually. This is based off of using our current requisition rates. There were some discussions from the lodge manager that our requisitions would actually be reduced slightly so that we could expect it to be approximately the same. So the requisitions would say remain almost unchanged, but then we would have on the town side to repay the debenture an additional $100,000 that we would be having to levy taxpayers. So to the average taxpayer, what does this result in? A 1% tax increase to support the capital contribution repayments of $100,000 annually for the 20-year repayment of the loan, and the total cost of $1,204,748 to be borrowed for the 20 years at 4.88% is actually $1.9 million. There will be also an additional $5.33 per $100,000 of tax assessment to support the 20-year portion of debt on the Minburn Lodge requisition. So that's the additional $100,000 on the lodge's side. So the communication strategy would be senior management will be informed of council's decision. A communication plan will be developed to educate taxpayers in advance of the taxation increase. So the options for council are to prepare a formal motion and letter to be approved at the next council meeting, or to request administration to compile further information or make changes to be presented at the next council meeting. Because we don't have a lot of time, they need it to be submitted by the end of January.
Okay, any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. I just want to throw it there because we have it in here. There's other other towns and counties. The county's putting forth a lot, so this isn't just a burden on the town of Vegreville. It's distributed across the different areas. My question, I guess, with interest rates changing, do we see any chance that before we take that debenture, that interest rates could change, potentially going down? Because we have until September till we need this money. I don't know how long it takes you to pull a debenture, but is there a chance that we could potentially save some money if we were to wait, or is it better to do it earlier if we think that interest rates may rise?
That is a good question. So in regards to interest rates, I know the formal rollout of the favorable interest rates for municipalities is supposed to be coming soon. We don't have a lot of information on that. I haven't checked anything over the new year. Perhaps somebody was at work over the Christmas break and posted something, but that hasn't been formally rolled out. The interest rate that is presented to you in that third attachment or fourth attachment is the loan calculator as I went on the website at the end of December, on December 20th at 2:56 p.m. So if there are additional interest rate decreases, that would save us some money. Another thing to note is that we are often paying the Minburn Lodge requisition, or like this capital funding would be due by the end of June. So if we waited till September to pull the debenture, we would be out using kind of the town's cash for that period of time. But that could be as well, because in June, as you know, that's our tax deadline, and we often have a little bit of excess cash. So we could choose to wait. I guess that would be the will of council when we want to pull it. We would also have to go through and do a formal borrowing bylaw, all of that, which hasn't been done yet.
Okay, Councillor Lemko.
Yes, thanks for that, Director Saskew. This will all hinge on the, depending on the approval of our application. So should we not be approved in the first go-round, which is more likely than not, the second intake will be in the fall for approval. So this might impact the 26 budget, which will be maybe a new council. So
Very true.
that's something to keep in mind, that it's hinged on an approval. And we're not on top of the list right now.
Yeah, and things have changed quite a bit. Lodges were 100% funded before by the province, and now we're sitting here. And what is their percentage they're taking on this loan or on this build? 20%?
Yeah, if out of 35 million, they're into the 5.8. So my math is probably more directed at Director Saskew than it is out of the top of my head.
Yeah, so
That would be,
so right now, I mean, the way we look at this right now, on the requisition that's already on my tax notice is close to $100. And that's to operate what they have now. This other requisition, the $5 or $6 more on a $100,000 assessment is to pay the loan. So
their portion of the loan.
Yeah, so that other requisition doesn't go away. They still need that $100 on mine to collect, just to operate the facility.
That is correct.
Yeah, that doubling of the money over 20 years at that interest rate is terrible. I mean, it'd almost be better just to pay $1 million. In the long run, it would be this, I mean, usually we debenture stuff over a period of time. But that is crazy. And I know personally, I mean, we all attended the meeting, you know, hopefully, I think everybody did. And I have some concerns about at what level of care they're building for. And, you know, what we see right now with some empty spots in some other private facilities. And where we're going with more care than what this facility can provide. That this is my biggest concern right now, is the level. Well, this is a level 5 facility that they're talking about, 4? 3?
Sorry, the SL 3 and 4 is now termed something different, and those are the other levels of care that are not in lodge. Lodge is basically independent living, so I think their new terminology, yeah.
I wish there was a better way that we could do this, because here, you know, 4 municipalities stuck carrying the load, and people come from all these other municipalities and move in, and they don't pay a dime. Go ahead, Councillor Lemon.
It's interesting you talk about a high level of care. Currently, at the lodge, we have approximately between 8 and 10 residents who are in need of a higher level of care right as we speak, although there's no place for them to go. So our staff are treating people that are required to be at a higher level of care. They're assuming that function right now. So as bad as it is, it's going to get worse. There's no places to put these people who need long-term, and we don't have the facilities, nor is there anybody thinking of those facilities.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Rudy.
Yeah, and not to excuse the current legislative process that requires us to requisition to support lodges, because it is actually a unique situation that Alberta has created. They've just changed it over the years, their ability or their willingness to pay to support this, and have downloaded the costs more and more to municipalities. The only thing I would say is that all municipalities have to belong to a housing board, and so requisitions are being paid somewhere. So even if somebody hasn't paid directly over the years through their taxation to the Minburn Foundation, they've been paying to a foundation somewhere. So requisitions happen elsewhere. I do have an example of another municipality, for example, that had built their own lodge, and they had asked the province if they could opt out of requisitions to 2 different housing foundations that they belong to, and they were not permitted to. That they still had to provide those requisitions to those other 2 foundations, in addition to paying for their own standalone lodge that they built. So not that that's any consolation to us, but this will be, for a nominal amount of money, a huge benefit to the community. And I think, as we see, there also are other moves afoot to be able to try to increase the ability for home care to be provided in the lodge, because there are some areas of the province that allow for that. So that is something that you saw quite recently at Alberta municipalities, where that was a resolution that was passed forward to advocate to the province to allow that to happen too. Because it is happening, we're just not getting compensated for it at this time.
And I get it, that everybody pays into some requisition. It's too bad the money didn't follow the person like it does with school boards. Again, I don't know if our biggest need in this community is this level of care. I know the top floor of the hospital is full of patients waiting to get into long-term or a higher level of care than what we have beds in this town. So my concern is always, are we meeting the needs of what our community, what the needs of the community are right now? And we know that long-term, that type of care is on the rise, and we're way short of that rate now. And I do not think that we can count on the province to come in. And we've seen what happens when we bring in a for-profit group, and the level of care that's supposed to be given is usually not very good. So again, I just don't know. We build this, and I'm sure that it would get full, and there would be probably people from other provinces would be in these facilities and moving to our community. But is it what we need at this moment? And this is what I have a big concern about, you know, putting another 1% on top of a tax rate, plus adding, you know, to the requisition, and we not meeting the needs of what our community really is. So this is what I'm struggling with right now. And I don't feel that the province is going to come in and help us at all with what the real needs are in our community. Go ahead, Councillor Rudy.
Yeah, I empathize with what you're saying, and I guess my time on the Minburn Foundation has demonstrated to me too that there's a wide range of housing needs in the community for different folks, and even the people that have moved into the lodge recently, even since our Christmas party, there are a number of people that through a health calamity often demonstrates that they can no longer remain in their own home, and that puts them into a situation where they would consider moving to the lodge, and that leaves a house that's available for somebody else to occupy. The other part of it is when we talk about aging in place, that has, you know, sort of traditionally been the approach of Alberta Health to be able to support seniors in their home. Well, this is their home. So if seniors live in the lodge level of care, that is their home, and they should be able to access care there. So if we're able to provide through a nominal amount of money the ability to provide a better choice for some seniors, that this provides a diversity of housing options. We know that we need all of the housing options. We need new housing as well as multifamily dwelling, and this is another one of those options that we haven't been able to provide in recent years. And as the owners of the oldest lodge in the province, the foundation felt like we could no longer move with what we currently have, understanding that this council and every council has limited resources.
Councillor Rowe.
This just speaks to the fact that this, like many other things, I think we have to break into two issues again, which is dealing with what's in front of us right now and making that decision, but not forgetting that advocacy piece on the side that we need to keep pushing forward, because this spells out to me very much like some other programs where alterations have been made to one part of the program and not to the whole program. It made sense to do the requisitions the way they were at a time where the lodge itself was 100% funded. It didn't matter where your requisition went to, because it went to a community somewhere, but it went towards the operation of that facility. If you had the province picking up the actual cost of the lodge, that requisition made sense. It just doesn't now in the way they're going. And when I look at this, while I'm not opposed to it in any way, when I look at this, I do look and say, we are technically once again taxing our people twice, because they're going to get taxed on what we have to borrow for our portion, and then they're going to get taxed on the requisition that's coming, which is both operational and debt repayment. So once again, we've hit it twice, which is where it becomes unfair when people are coming from other centers. And I also think part of that advocacy piece is going to be going into the powers that be again and explaining to them, even though I sound like a broken record, about the need to acknowledge the difference between rural and urban. There are different options in the city. There's more options in the city. There's more private options. There's just a bunch of different things. And we're very lucky right now that the kind of people that are working in our lodges are willing to provide that extra care for people, which in some cases they would be in worse situations. But it still doesn't make it right just because we go the extra step. And we see Vegreville going the extra step on a number of things. And people in our community only doing as well as they are because of volunteers, because of municipalities stepping into places we shouldn't have to. So I just want us to, as we're pushing forward on these, not to stop with the advocacy piece, because there's still a lot that's missing the mark on these things.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, this, again, hits the taxpayers twice. And I know, Councillor Riddick, what you're saying, we do have the oldest lodge in Alberta. It needs to get changed. The facility is outdated, and I just worry that we're missing the mark, and how we are going to accommodate the long-term the care levels that are needed today and what's gonna be happening in the near future in our community. Who's gonna pick up those pieces? Is that gonna get downloaded on us as well, and something we have to force taxpayers to swallow as well? Again, so, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to look at it. I didn't know that there was gonna be a borrow when we first were talking about this. I didn't really see that coming until we were at that meeting. And again, I know that the downloading from federal, provincial, I know the federal thinks that through CMHC, that they're picking up their portion, and I guess over the length of the loan, and in some way they are picking up their own. But it's just something else for the taxpayers that, the town have to pick up here. But is there any more information that we need on this topic? Because it will come to a vote on Monday's council meeting.
I think it's either, we feel comfortable that we need to move ahead with this. It's not going to get any cheaper to build going forward. Just in light, our vacancy numbers are now down to the point where we can't rent out a facility because it's a shoebox. So we're at the point where a number of seniors are coming into the lodge, and although that some are going into, hoping to go into long-term care or needing to, we're going to start seeing more and more the need growing exponentially in the years to come because of the baby boomers. So either we do it now or we, it's kind of hard sitting here as a chair of the foundation and the building committee, and then wearing the hat of a town councilor sitting here. So it's kind of like the balance of what is needed and what isn't. And it'd be nice if the community could sit on that board and see the challenges that board faces with a build and the challenges of what it takes to. We do have a meeting set up. We did have a meeting set up with our MLA for Thursday, although it had to be changed, and we've postponed it till early in February after our application goes in, if we get the approval of the councils. So I look forward to the vote if it goes to that.
I do have a question for the building committee. So the very bottom floor on the east end of this new facility can be renovated later to accommodate a different level of care.
Yes, Your Worship. There is 14 suites being prepared for a high level of care. They will be just a standard level, although they can be converted with minor changes in the floor plan. It's going to have a separate kitchen, which is a requirement of AHS. It's going to have barriers there and common places for AHS to set up their offices and stuff. So yes, 14 suites can be for a higher level of care. The challenge right now is there's no discussion between us and AHS. If you have a discussion with AHS right now about that, there's no grant. So we're going forward with a build to accommodate the need in the future, if it ever comes to fruition to do that, which it will.
That's the part that I struggle with a bit. If there's 14 spots, and we know right now that we could probably use 14 more spots in town for that level of care, why build it and then renovate it? I mean, this is a question, and I understand the challenges that you're seeing with AHS. I mean, someone's got to drag them into this fight here, and
The challenge we have right now is the fact that if we go to the higher level care built off the top, then we're not going through a grant. I don't know. We can't get money for that. We can't even apply.
So we have to build it and then tear it apart and renovate it after it's approved.
Yeah, the tearing apart it's just converting the station of a one room, making it into a nursing station. So there's not a lot to do. It'll be built to that level, which means like the doors are wider. The turnaround space inside the room is bigger. It's built for a higher level of care.
Well, that makes sense. That-
Yeah, so we decided that, and it has to be built in 14, according to how HS operates. It has to be a 14-room. 28-room, everything's by 14. Nothing less, nothing more, unless you go to 28 rooms.
So then it wouldn't be that big of a renovation cost-wise.
No.
Bring this to a different level of care.
No, it's all being planned right now.
Go ahead, Councillor Rudy.
Yeah, it's more regulatory concerns that restrict us at this point. And to be very frank, this comes back to advocacy again. Alberta Health, ultimately, the government of Alberta is what decides is happening with continuing care. And the issue that you highlighted a few minutes ago about the number of folks that are in the hospital requiring a higher level of care is not unique to Vegreville. But we know that this is going to be a continuing, ongoing problem, and the province needs to come up with an answer. And so far, they've been focused on the other pillars of health, but they have not come up with an answer for continuing care, which again, still does not answer the need for, and when I say that our lodge is the oldest, there are many other lodges that are close to this age. We just happen to be resourceful and make it look like it can continue on, but regulations restrict what we can do in there, which is why the building committee, under the advice of
Our consultant and
Consultant, thank
our consultant who has done all the legwork, Mr. Weiss, and he's the one who talked about the potential for going the higher level of care, which we had asked about anyway. And our meeting with our MLA is to talk about supporting our proposal, assisting us with advocacy to the minister to help us with that. But it's also to talk about the needs of members of our lodge who need that higher level of care. We're housing them anyway, and they can't go anywhere. What is the government willing to do to assist us at this point in time and future? So that was what the meeting was set up to deal with. So we will move forward with not only a building, but we got people that are living in it that need to be somewhere else with nurses and stuff. So
Well, I appreciate that explanation about why build it and then do the renovations later. And if it comes down to regulations on the financing and stuff, that I appreciate that. And something that I can see in the near future that we need to lobby AHS, because there's 6 beds in Two Hills that are closed in long-term because they don't have staffing. And again, this whole area is in need of that type of facility to offer that type of care. And I guess that'll be taken upon us as municipal leaders, with all the municipalities involved in this. Okay, is there any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
Not necessarily a question, just a comment that, I understand the aging in place is really important. Just watching what my parents and my wife's parents are going through in aging in place, and how a couple can't age in place together because of different facilities, right? So one of my in-laws is in extended care and one is in a lodge. And it's causing a lot of emotional stress for them, right? Not being together. So the benefit of aging in place, I think, is important for your health too. So I think it's important that we seriously consider moving ahead with this. So I want to see our community move ahead with that. I understand and accept, the requisition and what it's going to take. I do, but we do accept some other things as well that, to make our community move ahead. That's just my comment.
Okay. Okay, so we'll have this request will come to Monday's council meeting, and if you need any more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to Councillor Lemko or Councillor Rudy. Go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
yes, and if there's anything you want to, we do have a board meeting, a meeting with the building committee on this Thursday regarding our final steps. So if there's anything from council here that you would like to ask the building committee or the board, please reach out to me or Councillor Rudick so we can take it to the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have a letter here from Rick McIver. And I'll take this one since our CAO has lost her voice, so, and then Leslie, you can take we'll alternate, okay? You can take the other one. Dear Chief Administrative Officer, I am writing to inform you of a potential opportunity for municipal councils to meet with the Honorable Rick McIver, Minister of Municipal Affairs, at the 2025 Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus, scheduled to take place at Weston Edmonton March the 6th to 7th. These meetings will be in person at the Weston Edmonton or the Alberta Legislature as scheduling permits. Should your council wish to meet with Minister McIver during the MLC, please submit a request by email with potential topics for discussion on the attached meeting request template. We generally receive more requests than we can reasonably accommodate over the course of a convention. Requests which meet the following criteria will be given priority for the meetings during the convention. So basically, it's the same thing that we get every year. And I know their staff always says that you're within the capital region. So we will, and they want 3 topics, keep it down to 3 topics. I'm not going to read the whole thing here because every time we get a hold of them, if it's in Edmonton, they tell us that you're in the capital region. And I can guarantee you that Minister McIver, if we wanted to have a meeting with him about anything, he would have it set up within 2 weeks. So
For more than 15 minutes.
Huh?
Probably for more than
more than 15 minutes, yeah. So we will not respond to that. We don't really need that. And then if we have anything, if there's any need, council, to meet with Minister McIver, we'll definitely get a hold of him. Okay, next up, we have a letter from Kelly Sawchuk.
Okay. Dear Mayor and Town Council, I am writing you on behalf of my mother, Rose Sawchuk, regarding the Town of Vegreville invoice in the amount of $4,398.50. The invoice is for fire services at my mother's property on November 17th, 2024. I am asking that you forgive or waive the charges on a compassion basis due to the significant hardship my mother will face. So for hardship and compassion, my mother is 89 years old. She has lived in this house for more than 50 years, and she doesn't have insurance as it has always been cost prohibitive, even more so in her senior years living alone. Her only income is a minimum government pension and OAS benefits. For 2023, that was $26,935 for the year, or $2,244 per month, well below the poverty level. From a small sum of money, she maintains her home, pays her property taxes, utility bills, costs for her personal needs, and has been putting aside small amounts of money to pay for her funeral costs. A nearly $4,400 payment will significantly impact those small savings very late in her life. This would not only be a huge financial impact, it would also be emotionally devastating. I am asking that you waive the charges on compassion grounds. Arson.
Okay. We don't need to go through the arson.
No problem.
Let's, I mean, that's someone's personal opinion about what happened. We know that there was you can go to the
Not a problem, Your Worship. So in conclusion, I ask that based on a hardship, compassion, and or arson reasons, all charges be waived. The invoice is dated November 30th and postmarked December 18th, 2024. My mother received the invoice on December 20th, 2024, and the payment is due December 30th, 2024. I assume the delivery date delay is due to the postal strike. In any event, with the late receipt and the Christmas holiday closures of town office, there has been relatively no opportunity to address this matter before the payment is due. As payment has been made, I am asking that the amount be returned to my mother and the earliest possible opportunity. Please let me know if there's any further information or clarification required. I do have some pictures of the garage post-fire if you'd like to see copies of those. I would be happy to appear in person, but scheduling can be difficult as I reside in Calgary. My contact information is below, and in the event that you require an official authority or decision, please note that I hold the enduring power of attorney for my mother. I thank you for your consideration. Kelly Sawchuk.
Okay. Any comments? Let me start by asking Director Lefebvre, I don't know how much you know about this fire, but there was an investigation of the fire. There was an allegation of criminal activity and stuff. Is that what this was the finding of the investigation?
I was not present at that particular call and was not part of the investigation, so.
Okay. Okay, so how do we know that this resident has no insurance? Did we check? Is there any way to follow up on this, or?
Fire services checks with the owners because we bill the insurance company first. And they were the ones that informed us there was no insurance.
Okay. Okay, so our new bylaw. This is a good education portion for the community. So we brought forth this bylaw that we would be charging for fire suppression. And we brought it forward based on the knowledge that every insurance package on a home has some sort of fire suppression insurance on it. And we knew that over time that we would run into some where there would be less insurance than what the total bill would be. But our bylaw states that council has the ability to forgive charges. So I know there's been a lot of talk in the community about us wanting to charge everybody to fight fires and what are we doing with their tax dollars. The reason we brought forward this bylaw is because the fire suppression coverage in most policies, almost all policies, has some. Why wouldn't we charge the insurance company if you have that insurance? I know that all of us in council, everybody in the senior admin, we all phoned our insurance company, and the answer was, yes, you do have coverage. We went back to the community and asked the community to check, to see at what level of insurance they had. So this is how this bylaw works. Council has the ability. This poor woman carries no insurance. We're not trying to put somebody in the poorhouse. What we're trying to do with the bylaw is to collect on a policy that people carry, which is a standard portion of their house insurance. So on Monday, we will have an answer for Kelly Sawchek's mother. And this is exactly what it says in the bylaw, that gives council the ability to forgive these charges. And I hope everybody out there that has been on every social media site saying that how bad we were understands why wouldn't we collect on your policy if you have the coverage. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
Well, this conversation community has no win or good outcome for town council. We will be vilified either decision that we are going to make, and I know that, because I will receive phone calls as soon as tonight after what I'm going to say. So when does not having an insurance policy become the responsibility of taxpayer of Vegreville? We're not responsible for each other's financial situation, and we can't be. I'm not responsible for anybody in this room, other financial situation. I'm responsible for my own. It's sad that this happened. It's very sad that it's happened. And I have a heart that I'd like to pay for everything. The reality is I can't. And the reality is not every taxpayer is willing to pay for your insurance policy or pay for something. There are some unique ways of fundraising these days. There's one called GoFundMe, where people can contribute if they feel like they want to. But I know from the last fire that happened in the community, and we actually, before we put the media campaign out, we had forgiven that one. Well, I heard calls on that like, why am I paying for this? Why is some of my tax dollars paying for this? So we have to look at it from both sides. We're gonna get criticized in the community either way. So responsibility does lie, what do our taxpayers wanna see? And once again, I'm saying my financial position shouldn't be to take care of everyone else's financial position. That's just what I have to say.
Okay.
Okay, I might as well.
Go ahead, Councillor Roy.
I haven't made a decision, and I will be spending time over the weekend thinking about this. I'm going back and forth a lot on it. I wanted an option within the bylaw to be able to look at, extenuating circumstances. I do not actually want to just see where we are charging somebody. I 100% agreed that people have paid for a service, and what they paid for in their insurance was a right to have some fire suppression covered, so they should be charged. We should be able to charge back for what they paid for. Otherwise, it's kind of wrong that any insurance company could charge them then if they aren't expected to pay it back out. So my first instinct always goes towards then if someone doesn't have it, wanting to look at forgivenesses. My hard part for me is reconciling the fact that if somebody fell on someone's driveway, if they have no house insurance, they would be. So there is a certain expectation to carry some level of insurance. And if not, being open to these things. So I will admit that I don't have a decision tonight. I'm going to be thinking long and hard, but it is difficult because no matter what, I want to be able to do this, but I also want to be fair to everyone else. And I do have a concern of opening the risk of saying, if you cover someone who doesn't have insurance, then why would anyone pay insurance? So I'm going to think on it.
Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. I mean, I don't think that this bylaw was meant to entice people to not have insurance by any means. I mean, you run the risk of losing everything and not being able to rebuild your house, and you take that on in yourself. The whole purpose of this was to be able to recoup the cost that you could through the insurance company. If the bill is over that, are we going to stop there? Potentially, maybe depending on circumstances, but we have that option now. So I think it's just good to point out that the whole intention of this is to recoup the cost from the insurance and not burden the individual. This does throw a bit of a wrench in it with there not being insurance at all, but that is the intent of our bylaw. I believe that everybody, that's what we voted on, right? So.
Yeah, and again, it is very abnormal for a house policy not to have this type of coverage. And I always say, if your car got smashed and you had coverage for a rental car, would you reach in your pocket to pay for it? No, of course you wouldn't. We have the opportunity to bill the insurance company for the fire suppression, and because it's basically a part of the coverage that you carry. And that was the intent of our bylaw. And we knew there would be some special circumstances, and that's why we said it would be at council's discretion. Go ahead, Councillor Rudy.
I think the other part to consider here too is how often is this going to be enacted? I mean, to be very frank, the number of fires that require billing to insurance or billing to the municipality, it's actually very uncommon. It doesn't happen very often. So this is an uncommon situation in uncommon situations. Like this is not the regular. And we don't have this happen very often. And I think maybe one of the things that was, we were unaware as council because we haven't had this experience which required us to have this conversation and put the bylaw in place in the first place. So I think moving forward too, this is something that this council and future councils will be aware of, and will be able to measure how often does this happen. I mean, the fact that we were able to access insurance for some of the major structure fires that we've had in the last couple of years is actually something that perhaps we should have been doing all along.
Yeah, well, again, it is a standard part of your house insurance, and we've never taken advantage of it, and it's there, and the bylaw was meant to try to collect some money back for the coverage that everybody normally has. And we left room for council to make decisions on some irregularities that may show up. So we will have the vote on this on Monday's meeting. Okay, next up, we have a letter from Vegreville Junior B Rangers, dear Councilor Wawa and Town Council. We are writing to you today to request the dedicated use of dressing room 4 for the Vegreville Junior B Rangers Hockey Club for the remainder of 24-25 season. We are asked for full-time use of the room so our players can leave their gear at the arena. This is a huge convenience factor for our players. Some of the players build it in town or attend post-secondary school and do not have a room to air out their gear properly. As you may know, the Vegreville Junior Rangers are putting an application in to host the Junior B Provincials in 2026, and this would be a huge recruiting tool for us. We would ensure the room is cleaned after each practice or game. We would be willing to vacate the room for tournaments and other special functions if the room is needed. Thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to continue working with the town of Vegreville in the future. Should you require any additional information or wish to discuss this request further, please feel free to reach out. And signed, President of Junior B Rangers, Jim Nichols. Okay. I guess we could start with Dan, you're here. Now that we have all the rooms open and not full-time anybody in them, how's that been working for you?
Smoothly. Cannot complain. We haven't any complaints or issues yet so far this year.
And if we were to go ahead with this request, what challenges would we be looking at?
Some challenges are we don't have enough dressing rooms as it is at times. And we take one out of that rotation, it's going to cause some scheduling issues. Last year we had an issue where some minors seen some fully naked players that shouldn't have been. There was a girls' team, right? We just find to get a lot more clashing. On their games and practices, they use room 3 and 4 anyway. But it just, the scheduling has been so easy this year, it's been perfect. Like, I haven't had any issues with it.
Right.
Some other issues that we find is when we give people their own rooms and everybody wants their own room, they start to take ownership of it where they use it as a clubhouse. So we get a lot of sneaking in at Shinny. They use some of our amenities without paying them, as our exercise rooms, our bikes, our equipment, come and go at all hours. When we had 2 junior teams, they were sneaking in to watch the other junior team without paying their fees and stuff too, right? So there is some things to do, some things to watch for. Personally, I mean, we could make it work if that's the will of you guys. I prefer not to at this moment. There is talks about another team coming back next year, which just causes more conflict if everybody gets their own room. If you guys do decide to give them their room, I think there needs to be stipulations put in place where they pay for a room. We can recoup a little bit. I know the other junior team used to buy 15 full facility memberships. It brought us about $4,000 in dues, right? $4,500. Maybe they take advantage of, a stipulation for that room could be they have to move their ice time to an earlier time slot during our slow time of the day between 2:30 and 4. And that gives minor hockey another 2 to 4 slots open a week for them to use during time here too, right?
But it created a lot of problems by giving up that room.
Yeah. And well, like I said, we all know we could use dressing rooms, especially if we have more than one junior team. But maybe that's an option where they look at renting a trailer for the season and put it on the side of the building between the Egg Society and our building, and we just build an entranceway. And they pick up their own cost of their own building, a self-contained unit where they get their own water, their own sewers in there, and they put their own building dressing room on there. Home teams would still use away teams would still use our facility, but they'd have their own standalone building that they could play junior Bs or junior As or whatever comes to town, right?
Well, it becomes a problem, especially when there is girls and boys on the same team. And, with 6 dressing rooms we have now, which are fine for smaller players, U14 and down, I guess. But when we get into the scheduling and trying to accommodate other players that need to dress in a different dressing room, it becomes a problem.
It does become a problem, yes.
Any other comments from anybody? Go ahead, Councillor Roy.
And I want to respect your direction on this based upon the fact that obviously you're the one running the facility. But just having been involved with junior teams over the years, most junior teams are given a dressing room. You know, like there's a lot that are, and there was a certain, just I'm thinking like when we were when I was with minor hockey and the junior Bs were here, it was actually when the junior Bs at that time had made that request to go in and they had painted some, you know, made it more their own, made the stalls and stuff. The kids actually thought that room was really cool. They were really excited when the junior Bs would then allow them to use the room for after tournaments. Or the big thing was the U18 group, the minute the junior Bs were out for the season, they'd give them that room and stuff. And there was something nice about them having that room. I do know it's hard to attract players when a lot of other communities seem to have this designated space. And I don't want to, if it doesn't work operationally, I get it. I just feel for them, and I understand why they would have an expectation to kind of want a room like that. I know that the option of them necessarily moving ice times up doesn't really work with the junior B because they're a little bit different than the other junior team was, where their kids weren't necessarily like in school and the job. So that's why that worked different. And I get it. If you're saying it's not viable, I just know from a standpoint, there is that certain recruitment that comes with having a designated room. And there's that certain, you know, even when you're selling your tickets and your whatnot, and you have a room that has your logo and has the whole thing on it, it does help.
I totally get that. My past experience coming from other municipalities, I had 9 change rooms. One dedicated for the old timers, they paid. One for our junior team, they paid. And one that was paid for our under 18 team, but they had sponsorship that paid for it as well. But you had a surplus of rooms. So we still had 6 rooms in circulation the whole time for one arena and 5 on the other side.
Yeah, and traditionally, no one's ever had their own room in this facility.
And their
before
room they
until-
currently use is painted in their colors, right? We did paint it their colors. They use it pretty much. I think they're looking for a place to store their gear and dry it more than anything, right?
Yeah, and again, I mean, we know what that end of the building smelled like. So, traditionally, I know when I was with the junior Bs, and yeah, we took our gear home every night, and we had a stick room, and we kept the stuff in that one room, and that was a locked room, and only the junior Bs had a key. But it just comes down to, I mean, we know the challenges we seen when we gave up a room. And it...
And again, the more the females hockey seems to be taken off, you know, you get mixed teams. A lot of times we got to separate them.
It would be nice to have more rooms. It'd be nice to have bigger rooms, but that's not where we're at with this facility. And any other comments?
Can I just ask one more
Sure,
question?
go ahead.
Dan, just going back a little bit of time, because I know we were talking about there not being a dedicated room, but for some reason, I was thinking that prior to the Vipers coming, there was a time when the junior Bs had a dedicated room just at the end, because I remember them turning it back to us. So there was a previous time where they did. And I'm just wondering whether it is just the way this group is working with, I'm not trying to pick at minor hockey, but I know the numbers, I'm looking at all this, but we had 13 teams and the junior Bs at that time had a room. Why is it that they can't seem to work it out? Is it so much more with the number of girls teams that needing that extra room all the time for girls? And maybe it's unfair to ask you that question, but I'm just trying to figure out why it's an issue now when it just didn't seem to be an issue.
I think I could look into that a little bit more for you. I can't answer that for sure. I
sorry.
do know women's
Be on the
hockey
spot.
has been improving. And as I answered your email a little while ago,
Yeah.
they need 16 practices at the current time a week. We get 10 of that. 6 of it is outsourced, so we lose about $20,000-$30,000 a year going elsewhere to minor hockey just in practices alone. So how do we get that time? Everybody wants the golden spot between 4 and 9 o'clock. There's free ice at 9:30 to 10:30.
Well, and that's the point that I'm making. It seems that there might need to be a sit-down conversation about what being in Vegreville is about. Our U18 group started practices at 9 o'clock and 9:30 all the time. Now we're saying they need to end by 9 o'clock. And the problem is we want to do the best for the youth. It brings people to town. It does all these things. But we're also trying to talk about building a facility. And it's a sort of a case of, well, let's make sure that they're dedicated to using our facility. And I appreciate all the information you did give me, and that is some I'm gonna be bringing up in my round. I just wanna make sure that everyone is working together, not just working out what works out great for them, and bringing in a bunch of different, because what I'm scared is happening is we're seeing groups that are perfectly happy to move a bunch of stuff out of Vegreville and not utilize it. So let's also not cut off our junior team, which actually having a junior team of any kind brings in people to the town and they're coming to the games.
Yeah,
Again,
I
it's
just
hard.
don't ever remember the junior bees having a dedicated room.
I'm sure they did.
And I can't speak on that, so.
Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
We didn't have one when I played for my 3 years or whatever. We had access to the storage under the stairs, and we had access to the small room in room number 2. There's like a closet
Yeah,
in
they
there.
still have that in room 3.
It
There's a
was in the
closet.
last 3 years of, or last 2 years.
So Danny told me
last
just
year.
now that they've never had a dedicated room, but they've had a dedicated storage room.
Yeah.
I know that's not true.
So
I'm just
I-
gonna
I-
say,
yeah, I don't know for
literally know
sure,
it's
so.
not true because I was the minor hockey president and they turned it over to us at that time, at the end of the year.
CAO Ling?
Sorry. The junior bees had their own room. They did have a dressing room, 4. The cubbies for the equipment were put in. Chili was still here, so I'm trying to think of the year.
Yeah, and that's, I don't remember, I just know it was
So
that.
it would have been about 2017, 2018 when
Right.
they got that room because that's when the cubbies were built.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
And if the room doesn't work out, for sure, and is there any way that we can facilitate some gear storage for them? Because I do understand the issue with, they got kids that are living in Edmonton, they're going to school, they have no place to put their stuff. Is there something we could do on that regard that could maybe be a happy medium, at least till the end of this year? Is there any way we can facilitate
Totally
something?
get where they're coming from and where you're coming from, and we did build 2 big new storage rooms up top, and one of them is dedicated to their use. So technically, whatever they want to store in there, they can store in there.
Okay, well, it's our decision, so it'll come up at Monday's meeting, request, and we'll go from there. Is there any other information anybody else needs right now? Okay. Next up, we have a letter from the mayor of Stry in Ukraine. Dear friends and partners from Vegreville, during this festive season, as the light of Christmas warms every home, we want to share with you what is most precious: hope, unity, and faith in a better future. Christmas is a time when different nations, cultures, and traditions come together around shared values, peace, love, and compassion. We Ukrainians now have more than ever feel the importance of these words and deeply appreciate your friendship and support, which unite our communities despite the oceans that separate us. Thank you for remembering us even during the most challenging times. May this Christmas bring warmth and joy to your homes, and the new year, new opportunity, health, and peace. Together we are building a world where freedom, dignity, and solidarity are unshakable foundations of our shared future. Best wishes from the mayor and community of Stry. And the name is Olgi Canavis. Probably pronounced that wrong. Canavets. Okay. Okay, next up, we have, I don't suppose we wrote them a Christmas letter. We did? Nice. Did I sign it? Nice. Well, I hope it was well written as that one is.
So thoughtful.
It was sent in Ukrainian too. Yulia does the translation.
Nice. I could have done that.
I would have liked to see that one, yes.
Okay, next up, we have a letter from Arctic, who's this from? Arctic Response. And her name is Teresa Volk. And it's to Councillor Lemko. Dear Gerald, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas holiday with plenty of time to rest up before the new year of 2025. Thank you for being a big supporter of Arctic Response, new venture in the beautiful town of Vegreville. At Arctic Response, we're passionate about supporting the local community and addressing areas of need. I understand the population of Ukrainian evacuees in Vegreville is growing. As a granddaughter of a Ukrainian immigrants who settled in Mundare, I feel personally connected to the unique challenges they may face in adapting to life in Canada. We would like to explore hosting a meet and greet type of event for Ukrainians in Vegreville. We're open to putting some of our unused building space towards supporting initiatives such as youth clubs, youth groups, clubs, or community gatherings in arts, sciences, and other industries that will support Ukrainians here. We're also open to discussing the researching government grants or other opportunities for skill development to help meet long-term immigration goals for those wishing to stay in Canada. These are just a few ideas at this stage, but we'd love your input. Do you know any individuals or groups in the community who might benefit from this type of incentive? If so, we'd be happy to contact and plan this event. At this point, Jameson Brown, Yulia, and a contact from AAISA have all been contacted regarding the same with the same information. Okay. Well, Councillor Lemko, what do you have to say about this?
Well, it's exactly as the letter says. They're reaching out, probably to get their name a little bit more up there, but also to be part of the community in a bigger way, supporting the Ukrainians. I believe the reach out to me was strictly because I'm the liaison between the Vegreville area stands with Ukraine. I do see the names that's associated with also reaching out to Jameson. Yulia, who's one of the displaced Ukrainians that has come to our community and is a very, well, she's a talented girl who's working for the town, FRN. And then in a contact with ASA. I do sit on the ASA committees around the Ukrainian thing, so I'm not sure exactly where Terza is going with this, but it looks like it's their initiative, and I wanted to bring it to light here so that we could maybe assist in this or give support to the committee, Ukrainian committee in some capacity. You know, Jameson might have something to say around this regarding his conversation with her. But this is the letter that I got, and I'd like to address it here to see if there's anything that we could possibly do to assist this.
Has the Vegreville area stands with Ukraine seen this letter? Okay.
Yeah, it's fairly new. It's just a few days ago. And our committee meeting isn't until early February. But I could bring it to their light, just to the post to our group.
Okay, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. We could probably bring it up at an FCSS meeting as well. They have all the contacts for the nonprofits and groups. They're good at getting the ball rolling on some of this stuff, being the kind of the initiator. So this is something we could bring to them, and maybe in conjunction with the Stands with Ukraine Committee and our response, see what the families would like to do. If there's something, a venue we can use or an event, then we can get the ball rolling that way.
Okay. Councillor Lemko.
Yes, I guess it's nice to see this. I will personally reach out to Terza and take a lead and get this rolling if it's the flavor of council to support this endeavor in some capacity, because it might reach out to further than Ukrainians in the future if there's an opportunity for us. And then have the meeting with Yulia and Jameson and Asa and see where that takes.
Okay, excellent. Next up, a round table. We're gonna start with Councillor Roy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay. So I had two arena contacts that were on totally different issues. One, as you can probably see, since it was addressed to me when the letter came in, I was reached out to more so in the capacity of when I was with minor hockey, and I said the best way for us to understand what your ask is and there not be miscommunications is to write us an email. So that's why I think it came to me and council, and we've discussed that one. The second issue kind of has two parts, and it was a little bit originally about arena usage, and thank you, Dan, or Magic Kuzmic, for providing me that information. I was, the gentleman that actually reached out to me, and I just want to make sure we're clarifying this, was hearing us talk a little bit about potential of building a new multiplex facility, and actually was a little bit against that idea, but was more so kind of under the understanding that like it was focused around necessarily hockey arena, which I tried to explain that when we're talking about this, we're actually looking at all recreation opportunities, that it's not all about building a hockey arena, it was about building a multiplex usage facility. So I think that's a good thing in case people in the public are misunderstanding that. We're not looking at building for one group, we would be looking at what might be viable for the community and many different types of user groups. However, the concern is they brought it because they did think it was focused primarily about hockey, was that we don't maybe necessarily even have optimal usage of the facility that we currently have in place. So they were questioning a need for additional. So I did, reach out to ask the question, because what was brought to attention was that, that maybe other facilities were being utilized for ice when ours could have been. So totally appreciate, while we can probably back and forth as to, practice times, I think pretty much the practice times definitely make sense. One of the concerns that I would have had is there seems to be a real shift in the change of how ice might have been booked, and I think that's changed over the years. I guess the primary concern was that, and I actually ended up writing them down, out of 6 tournaments that were going on, 3 of them are actually not happening in our community. And of the ones that are happening in our community, one's a 2-day, one's a 3-day, one's a 1-day, versus having a 3-day, and a 2-day. So there's actually more days out of the community booked for tournaments than booked in the community. So I saw where you mentioned like the number of hours that it was booked. And I guess that confused me a little bit, because the user group that has it booked for the block of time is also the user group that puts on the tournament. So in past, it was pretty easy for anyone who hasn't done the booking, but just because I have, I mean, over the summer, your groups usually go ahead and pick their tournament dates, and somewhere like the Junior Bees, for example, they have their schedule much earlier, so you're able to see when they have some dates and work with them. In the past, with some of the leagues that our minor hockey was in, we had to submit blackout dates. We could actually black out when not to use the arena for tournaments. I don't know if this has changed, but my understanding is under the league they're in now, it's not so much that way where someone else assigns them ice, they have to coordinate the ice. But having said that, they have the block of ice for on a Saturday from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. They have the ability to schedule that ice. So I guess before we move on more on this one, the one additional thing I wouldn't mind is if I can send you the 3 dates that it is out of town. I'd like to know what percentage of the day is being used. Because maybe what we'd find out is they had to go out of town because they used ice all day. But if what we find out is they used ice for 1 block during the day and sent the rest out of town, then there needs to be some conversation, because then it is fair for ratepayers to say, are we focusing on an ice surface when maybe that doesn't need to be part of the conversation? So I'll send you that date if you don't mind, and then we can just go from there. And I appreciate so much the information you gave, because it was lots. And then I imagine the other one I got was what most people probably had, which was a little bit about garbage pickup. And so I totally understand what happens with stuff with breakdowns. I think the biggest challenge was, unfortunately, with some of the days that were off, it maybe hit twice for some people, but also just the fact that the call that I got was more primarily about the fact that the notice that it was being picked up was in the same day as pickup, and they were already at work, so it wasn't really viable. So those were the things that I got.
Okay. Yeah, the extra day off, that Friday, that between Christmas and New Year's, Didn't work out so good for the people with rollout bins, that's for sure. And then we had a couple of breakdowns. There's not a lot we can do about trucks that break down. Anyway, Councillor Bullock, what have you been hearing?
Well, I think I got the rollout phone call too, actually, a couple times. So, yeah, I didn't know anything about it. When I got the phone call, it was the first I heard of it, but it sounds like it's handled now, and I'm sure we'll learn what we can do to make it better and going forward. Just going back to the lodge thing over Christmas, you know, went and visited the in-laws and stuff in separate facilities, and that was the thing that was most concerning to them. They weren't together, so we're not in the same facility. We're not any ease to get to them like there was in Vegreville. They don't have transportation services like we do here. So it's a little more difficult in some other communities, for sure. So I had a good comment on the snow removal, which was a good thing. I had one other comment on snow removal, and I just reminded my friend that there's a lot deeper snow somewhere else too, so it's a lot easier to get around here. So some of my friends are my most severe critics, so it's good. So otherwise, that's all I really have.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rudick.
I have a couple things. VTSS, for those of you that may have noticed, the new van is in utilization already, and so they are in the process of transferring from the old one to the new one and deckling, and they will have a grand reveal for all donors, which would include the town of Vegreville at a future date. So they look forward to inviting and including the town in that process. And their fundraising continues. I had a good report of somebody who was able to take somebody out of the hospital using Maple wagon on Christmas Day. And if they were not able to access that service, they would not have been able to spend Christmas with their loved one. So again, private business able to provide a really valuable service to a resident that was really very impactful. So really great. And I don't think we can take credit for that, but even just getting people in the room and having a better understanding in the community of some of the needs about transportation has really made a difference in that life of that family. That was really important. Happy to hear that. Vegmin is offering courses perpetually, as everybody knows, but they are full all the time with first aid and CPR. They are doing some partnership with Arctic Response to offer other courses. And just a reminder that for those that need to do tech help and come into the facility, Vegmin is available for people to come in, as well as the language classes. So they've been doing English language circles. So just sort of like a relaxed conversational style classes, as well as one-on-one. And they're really finding a variety of opportunities to be able to partner in the community, including at the library. One other thing that got missed, and this was addressed to a number of us, but this is from St. Martin's School Advisory Council and their foundation. They are doing an application for a grant for their outside or their outdoor classroom playground facility. So I don't know if anybody's noticed that they have, it's basically like an outdoor kitchen playground area at St. Martin's. And they are looking for a letter of support to apply for a grant for the Friends of the Environment through TD Canada Trust. And I was remiss in not answering that email, but a couple of other of us on this council did not answer. So the chair, Lisa Jagolic, asked if I could please forward this to council to be able to provide a letter of support for their grant application. So I apologize for not answering that. It was a busy time, I guess, and it got missed.
Is it addressed to?
It was an email that we received on November 21st. There's a number of us that are on that email chain. So at any rate, I will reply and forward this on, but it is basically just to support their grant application. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. And the one thing that I heard too was about the garbage collection as well. So Jameson's gonna hopefully bring up the Town of Vegreville website. And I guess I have a few questions. I'm not sure if they can be answered today, but I know we have a Stay Connected, where you guys we can give as the town out some text alerts, et cetera. And there's also a Town of Vegreville app. There's two options there. So I know from what I'm told, you can get alerts for snow removal sent to your phone. Is that correct? Jameson has it there.
Yes, Councillor Curtis, to answer your question, you can get alerts for snow removal. That would be via text or email, or if you prefer the most intrusive method, that can also be converted to a phone call. But I would highly advise no, you don't sign up for the phone call, because that you'll get a phone call every time we post a snow removal. And if you were signed up for the text message, you probably just received one. It's a lot, but it proves to be effective in terms of knowing that people have got the information out there. While you bring up the app, we have been in conversation with our website provider, and they are abandoning the app. So the app will soon no longer be an option for us. They find that the app is buggy, has created more issues than they were hoping, and they've actually streamlined their mobile version to make it better for mobile use. The reason why they initially brought the app out was because their website didn't work well on mobile. This one now will, but we will still have the text message notification or email or however you see fit.
Okay, because I guess so negating the app, which is good to know that will be discontinued. I would assume we could set up a group or a grouping based on address, because when you sign up for this, you put in your name and your phone number and your address, and all these addresses will be part of Wheelie Bin group or whatever, right? And if we cannot send them a 6 a.m. text before they go to work that says, because they said 3 weeks, they haven't got it. I would also think that the guy driving the garbage truck that went by 3 times where 90% of the bins were out, there should have probably been something said that, hey, this is not working. So I would like to pursue an avenue, if we can, to get the text message out for the garbage removal. I don't think it's as big a deal, not that people wouldn't want it for the people with back alleys, because it's full, they walk down and they put it in the other one, it gets dumped, it doesn't get dumped. But people that have to wheel it out, it's fight or flight mode for them some mornings when they're running outside and the truck's already gone by, or they didn't get the notification. Because I know I don't wake up and go on Facebook every morning. I wake up and try not to step on my dog to get out of the house, and that's about it. But so I'd like that to be looked at if possible. I think it's a fair way to get that information out. And that was my round table. So thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Councillor Lemko.
Thanks, Your Worship. I have a couple items. One being a resident contacted me regarding recycling. Now, they were talking about small appliances, DVD players or radios or stuff like that. And I reached out to Director Lefebvre and got clarification on the policy. We do take that stuff at the landfill. His concern was that many people will not drive to the landfill to drop off a DVD player. It'd be easier for them to drop it in the garbage and just leave it at that. So is there any way we could, and I don't know the way it could work for us, having one bin at the Recycle by Dairy Queen dedicated to such appliances that the community can go to and drop it off. But I guess if they can't drop it off in their back alley, they may just throw it in the garbage anyway. So his concern was that he didn't see a need to drive to the landfill to drop off a DVD player and a radio. So he asked me to address it, and I said I would.
So what you're suggesting is that if we could have a bin dedicated to electronics at...
Yeah, just some means of anything with an extension, with a cord hanging off it that could be dumped off there, or at a dumpster by Veemer. I don't know, Dale. Director Lefebvre, if that's even manageable or doable. He just had a concern, and I didn't have an answer for him.
So that would be something that would be unloaded physically put in the back of a half ton and driven. It wouldn't be putting in a truck and crushed.
No.
Be a lot of big screen TVs, I think. Yeah, and you know what? And I get that a lot of people just go to the back alley and throw those damn things in, right? I mean, since I know that we take them for free at the landfill, I drive out there, I take it upon myself to do it. But if we were to do that, we couldn't just dump that bin and take it, and then we'd have to physically load those onto a pickup and take them out to the landfill and put them in that one spot.
More like a spring roundup type of one-day thing or something.
If I may, the electronics are accepted at the household hazardous waste roundup every year. So if the individual has been sitting, if it's a DVD player, you might have been sitting on it for a while, but there is an option for him just to take it there as well. We don't have a place other than the landfill to take them to during or after hours. In the past, we've put a bin out at the central drop-off by Dairy Queen, and it was not a recycle bin, however, and it was abused very, very much with absolutely everything in it, on it, and around it, that it was a cleanup every single morning. So we stopped that. And it is unfortunate, because we get that call once in a while from some of the elders that don't have a vehicle, and well, how do I get rid of it? So we let them know about their neighbors, and if they're going to the household hazardous waste roundup, to utilize that, and we'll certainly take it there.
Yeah,
We had tried a collection at the back of the VMRF, and then you get there in the morning and somebody's gone there and taken every piece of electronics that was dropped off and smashed them all on the ground and pieces everywhere, and that happens. So we have dabbled in it a little bit. I'm not sure what the solution is other than I will talk with Tony, because if it's during hours, if it's something that you can carry in, not an 80-inch screen TV, but something you can carry in, then maybe we could look at something possibly the VMRF on like normal operation hours, maybe if it's not too much, so.
I think maybe just exactly like you've explained with the challenges of doing something like that, maybe a media on our social media, just saying this is what we do with electronics as a recycle, and have people being able to read that and know that they can take it to the landfill, or there is that one opportunity to do it at the roundup.
yeah, we just open ourselves up for stoves and fridges and everything. People, there's no good answer. I guess if we said like a small electronics, we could collect at VMRF, and then, then where would that end up? Then we'd still have to physically load them and take them out to the landfill, because the person that picks these electronics up, they come and load themselves, right? And they tear them down for a little bit of gold or whatever's in them, or?
That's right, they're loaded into our staff take them and pack them into a large container that is wheeled on, wheeled off. So they drop one off and take the full one in, and then take them down, recycle everything in them.
I don't know, there's a better way of doing it, so.
I think we do a pretty good job of what we're doing. I think you guys in that department do an excellent job, and the opportunity is there to take it to the landfill, so. Designated area, I know, it'd be nice and easy to drop it off, but if we say we're only gonna take small electronics, we know we're gonna get other stuff there. That's what's gonna happen, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So, I've had quite a few phone calls over a certain amount of time, and I really appreciate anybody on council that says that if you want to, you can phone the mayor, because that's really helpful. I really appreciate that, Leslie. Not all, but they weren't all bad phone calls. I mean, people have concerns, and of course, when explained, that the days for the rollout bins are Fridays, and yeah, we had an extra day off that the employees got, and that got missed. I mean, people understand the truck's being broke down. Some people understand that if it has tires, it's going to give you some problems once in a while. And it was really cold, and blew a few lines, hydraulic lines on one truck and a leaf spring on the other. These are just things that happen, and it's not an everyday occurrence. I mean, We used to go out and physically have employees go to every bin, roll-out bin, and staple on a notice, but it took a lot of time and a lot of effort. I do believe Councillor Curtis is going in the right direction, that if we could have more of something that come up on your app or your mobile device that says about what's going on, and we'll try to get there. So I also had a request from an owner of a building. Although his company owns a building and they are renting it to the food bank, and the food bank can no longer afford the rent. He's willing to go no rent if they could pay the utilities, and for a portion of the building they're in, would council look at maybe forgiving a portion of his taxes where he's not collecting any rent. So if it's a company that owns it, I don't know. I said he could have maybe applied for the small business incentive, and it was the day before the 31st, so I sure hope that he did. And if it doesn't work, I mean, it is owned by a company and he is sort of leasing it, except for that he won't be collecting any more rent anymore. So again, it's a nonprofit, and I told him that the fact that he is leasing to a nonprofit, that we do look at tax forgivenesses on individual basis for nonprofits, and there may be something that we may be able to help him out with. But I asked him to go that route first to look at the small business incentive. So we'll see. I'll get a hold of him and see where that ended up. But other than that, I mean, most people that I've seen around town during the holidays, or since our last meeting, everybody's been fairly good with, a lot of good comments about snow removal, the ice on the bottom. And of course, there's a few people complaining about sidewalks not being done, and I don't know how we're gonna fix that. I mean, notices, I guess. We just gotta get a little more on the ball there, so. That's what I have. Let's move on to some of our director highlights, and we're gonna start with Director Lefebvre today. So usually I start with Director Saskew and then forget about Director Lefebvre, so.
I see that.
Yeah.
Very nice. I have a couple items. The West Reservoir, as you all know as a council, we had the MCC project we've been talking about for a while. So that's to rebuild the electrical backbone of the building and the large-scale breakers and things. So that is completed. We do have one check valve we're waiting for, supposed to be here end of this month. And then we'll roll through to like part 2 of this project, where we get into the SCADA system upgrade, the PLC systems. The variable frequency drives are on the pumps right now and are operating, so that means that they don't run full blast. The town takes 30% of the water and 70% gets dumped back in the reservoir and you recirculate it. That's the way the system worked before. And now the pumps are a variable frequency drive, VFD, so we need the SCADA system upgraded in the PLC that tells it, hey, we're using this many liters per 100, we need more. The electric pump just comes up a few more 100 RPM. And if we're doing good, say at 2 in the morning and the usage is low, the pumps will wind down. And so a large energy savings for us. So that's the phase 2. Procurement of materials is still not great, but nowhere near what it was a few years ago. So we're starting to see this stuff becoming more available for what we need. So that'll be the next step. So I'm glad to see that the backbone of it is now completed and looked after on the building. Just little tidbits, Prosperity Industrial Park, if you've driven around and out there, you'll see that the street light davits are up on and around. There's coils and cables out there stockpiled, ready to go for the spring when we're going to put them in. That's when we'll have to do the open trenching for it. We just finished off with Canada Post finally today, with the completed surveys are done and everything's got an address lot. The drive through the lot is Apex Drive, is what it'll be called, and the addressing will be broken down from 100, 110, 120, 130, 140 as we go around on Apex Drive. So that's being put in this afternoon. It should have been completed with Canada Post. So the address then would be 170 Apex Drive, Vegreville, Alberta, T9C, and the actual postal code is OB7. So we have that now, because a lot of reasons why we need a civic address that's accurate with Canada Post.
So it's not Prosperity Park?
It's not. We couldn't. I was trying to have like a 101 Apex Drive Prosperity Park, Vegreville, Alberta, and that's not how it works. So.
That's fine.
We had to go with this one, and this works because we're down to 2 different ways to do it, and this was pretty close to the one that the CAO and Jameson and myself and Kayla went through, and that's what we come up with. And it's gonna be simple, easy, and you'll Google it, it'll show up, and really it's no different than 4538 Maple Street or 5417 Birch Ave. It's 107 Apex Drive, so. And if you Google up Apex, it's sort of fitting with the park, I think is what it means. There is 17 lots where the super boxes will be put out by Canada Post in the spring when it thaws out. Room for expansion, I guess, because there's 17 lots in the park and each super box comes with 16. So we'll have 2 boxes now for that one extra one. So as things expand, we'll have room, we'll have extra boxes. Just a reminder, everyone, that the 2025 business license renewals are being mailed out this week, and you'll be getting that soon for all your business licenses. So it's already getting busy downstairs with people walking in wanting to pay their licenses. So we'd like to see that happen, and just let you know it's out there. And tomorrow's snow removal is Riverview Estates. Hopefully start nice and early.
Probably start at your place.
Actually, we'll be there a bit later. We got another road to do first. That's my quick report, if there's any questions.
Any questions for Director Lefebvre?
I got just one comment. I get your monthly business license email that comes from the group, from Tammy, I think. And I just wanted to say, like, it's, when I first got on council, it was probably 3/4 were non-renewed and 1/4 were renewed or new. And now I'm seeing a shift of none not being renewed or none going away, and a plethora of ones that are coming in. So I think it's just really nice to see in the town from when I first started the difference that it is now, because now we see it every month it comes out. There's a new business license, whether it's for somebody that's just here for doing a job for the month, or a person that's doing a home business, or a new building set up. It's just nice to see. So I do enjoy reading those and checking them and seeing nothing in the business, right?
And just a quick comment on that also is obviously January, February, March, when people aren't paying for the business license, that'll show up as there's business licenses are gone. We've had a few CPOs in our bylaw department, and in the last while, of course, work really tight with our department, which is really good. So if they see somebody in town, someone's on a roof with a picker, someone's putting something down, we're on the blower, they're letting us know. And then a phone call to the company, say, do you know you need a business license, because you are generally competing with. And so that's, the working relationship is drastically improved there. So that helps us do exactly that, right?
Excellent, thank you. Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Corporate Services has been busy with year-end, as you can imagine. We've also transitioned IT providers as of last Thursday, so that has been a decent amount of additional work for our team, but overall has been going 99% smoothly. McKinley, our finance manager, has also started as of yesterday, and we're excited to start the transitions of tasks off my plate that have been on since I took on this role in 2021. Year-end close and update was done last week for our main program, Diamond. So every single year, after the last payroll, before the first payroll, I have to do a full Diamond program update, and then also update these tax tables. It sounds easy, but it's absolutely has never gone without a hitch for us. So we were down on Diamond. So on Friday, not only with the rollout issue, we also couldn't take cash payments and issue a formal receipt. We were issuing paper receipts because our Diamond was not functioning on Friday. So we have thankfully caught up everything and got the update up and running on all of our staff's programs today and yesterday as well. We have also done the 15% property tax penalty on all balances outstanding as of December 31st, 2024. This amounted to $74,210 this year, so fairly comparable with years past. So our tax balances are sitting approximately where they are every December, so that's nice to not see significant change up or down. Down wouldn't be bad, but it's always alarming when there's more people that are not paying their property taxes. So this is just your casual people that year over year accept penalties. I was also able to get access to a general Camelot, which is our assessment reader for the town. So you can search properties and see what the assessed properties are. This is something that our tax clerk is asked for often by the realtors in the town. It's what they use for posting properties. And as you know, there's been a lot of properties posted in the last year or so. So they can now access their own general access, and it just gives a very basic, like the property address and the assessment for the current year. So I've distributed this to the local realtors, and I'll be working with the seed department now that they're back from holidays to get this link posted on our taxation section of our website. So it's actually quite slick. So in the address part, you can search just a partial address. So for example, my address is 4209, and so you search that, and then every single property in town that comes up is available, and then you just click on whatever street or ave that you're looking for. So I was actually quite impressed by the search function with it. So that'll help take some calls off of our tax clerk's desk. And then speaking of taxes, small business incentive forms were due on December 31st, 2024. I've been working with the tax clerk to compile this list and send to the assessors for our 2025 assessment, which will be released by the end of February. This year, I have 94 submissions so far, not fully verified at this point in time. We collect all the submissions and then we go through and ensure that they have business licenses and all of those, because that is requirements to receive the small business favorable rate. As a comparison to prior years, so submissions are up from 2024. Last year we only had 63 submissions, so that was a year that we did have a few people miss the deadline and they were quite angry. So it's nice to see that we're back up to 94. As a comparison, in 2023 we had 105. So the 105 number that I'm making reference to is 105 properties versus the submissions that I'm talking about is businesses. So some businesses have multiple roles. So I think we are fairly comparable, if not up from 2023 numbers. So that is all I have. If anyone has any questions.
Thought maybe you would announce a land sale.
Well, I thought I'd let the CAO do that, or do you want me to?
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Let's have a CAO report.
Sure, let the person with no voice announce it.
Try to keep it under 20 minutes.
Okay. Just a few highlights since the last ledge meeting. Mayor and I had a meeting with the county reeve and county CAO to discuss some ICF agreements. Attended the Minburn Homestead Lodge Expansion Project stakeholder meeting with council. Attended our Art Response open house at the Vegreville location. We had our core certification post-audit meeting with the external auditor and members of the JH, the Joint Health and Safety Committee, to review the information before it was submitted to AMSA. Bi-weekly meeting with OCL ahead of the steering committee meeting, and that's on the regional recreation feasibility study. I went on vacation and we had a closure of the multiplex on January 2nd due to a minor ammonia leak. The plant was repaired in less than 24 hours. And on behalf of all the staff, I would like to thank council for closing operations on December 27th. The day off was really appreciated by all the staff. And in alluding to what Director Saskew was talking about, we have officially closed a sale on a lot in Prosperity Park.
Hallelujah.
So the company AJN, the panel company that we've been dealing with quite some time, we're officially closed on that lot. It's 5.3 acres or something. I know Mohammed and his wife are back in China right now. They've ordered the building, and they're just completing the order on the some of the equipment that's going to be producing these panels. So, and I've talked to some of their partners, and they are very excited about digging some holes out there and getting their building up and getting in production here first thing in the spring. So it's our first one, and we hope to be able to announce a couple more in the near future. So thank you for all the work that everybody's put into this lately. It's been a bit of a challenge between every department, and one of our contractors has let us down a bit, but we'll probably never use them again. Or pay them. Anyway, I was only joking. We'll pay them. It'll take a few years, but we'll get to it. So, what do we got coming up here? Is everybody registered for Emerging Trends with Brownlee? Do you know where you're at with that? We're good?
Everyone who said they wanted to go has been registered.
Okay, is there any other business of council? Well, seeing none, we do have one closed session item. So I would take a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Rawa makes the motion at 4:55. All those in favor? Carried. So we'll maybe